Okay, so good morning, everyone. Sorry about the challenges that I had with communicating. Today, I just want to do a quick presentation on assessing the spatial and temporal dynamics and the overfishing implications of Guyana's Seabob shrimp industry. Well, the presentation today will go through some of these areas: background, methodology, results, and discussion. Good. So the Seabob sector in Guyana really is one of the major economic contributors to our foreign earnings. It earns on average 70 million US dollars annually. Now, this fishery has been MSC certified, and since the MSC certification, a lot of technical work has been directed towards enhancing the sustainability of this important fishery. So it's against that backdrop that this spatial and temporal analysis was done. A total of 87 trawl vessels who are licensed to operate were used with a fishing speed that was identified between 0 and 3 knots. And given the period from 2014 to 2019, we had a change in the management zone. So it was from 7 fathoms to 18 fathoms, and then from 8 fathoms out to 18 fathoms. And it was done with respect to the divisions that we have within the exclusive economic zones from zone 1 to 8, which are statistically important zones in terms of analyzing fisheries movements and landings. And all of the devices that were used were satellite-based technology, VMS, utilizing Doppler radar. So 1 point occurred every 30 minutes or so to our VMS database. Now, all of these points for the 87 vessels really created spatial and temporal points amounting to somewhere around 10 million points. So in order to understand better what was happening, there was a need to reduce the amount of points present, and that was done through QGIS using the query builder system, where we limited speed to above 0 and less than or equal to 3 for the periods January to August and November to December, taking into consideration that we have a close season usually beginning in August and starting in ending in November. The locations of each of the points were identified using a fishnet analysis of grid lines that are 1 kilometer square, both within the 7 to 18 fathom and the 8 to 18 fathom areas. And then in order to understand the movement of these vessels and the area that they fish and the estimated timings, a cluster analysis was done using the density-based spatial clustering and application with noise method. So over the years, some of the understandings that we had is that from 2014 all the way to 2016, as you can see in the maps, most of the efforts occurred within zone 7, 6, 5, and 4, primarily for the year 2014, 15, and 16. Now, I would have placed some information there with regards to the standardized days at seas, which was utilized during that period, which was 15,000 per the vessel, and of course the corresponding landings in terms of tons. And we can observe that the CPUE during 2016, which has 20,131 metric tons, it corresponded to 1,343 kilograms per standard day at sea, which at this point was fairly high. Now, as we look at 2017, 18, and 19, it should be noted that in the beginning of 2017, we had started making adjustments to the no fishing zone for trawl vessels, moving it from a limitation of 7 fathoms depth out to the 8 fathom mark. Now, on analysis in 2018 and 19, you can see a clear movement of vessels in terms of the number of vessels and the time spent in the different statistical areas. So there was a migration of vessels from zone 7, 8, from zone 7, 6, and 5, which is east of in the map, to zones 3, 4, and 1 for the first time presented. And though this level of disaggregation in terms of vessel operation occurred, you would have seen in the map in the table below that for the year 2019 and 2018, the actual tonnage went down in terms of the catch. However, it should be noted that during the year 2018 and 19, we had some work being done with the harvest control rule, making it more reactive as opposed to the standard 15,000 days at sea. Now, what happened here is that we ended up realizing that the CPUE actually increased. So the catch per effort unit increased with regards to the less days spent at sea in an area that is more open as opposed to being restricted in zones 7, 6, and 5. Now, this overall still translated to an overall lower landing. However, the amount of Seabob caught per vessel had actually increased. And things that we got out of looking at all of these things is that over the last 6 years of the pitch, it revealed that more or less the spatial and temporal patterns of Guyana's Seabob fishery was primarily static prior to the implementation of the 8 fathom lower limit. And then, of course, the Seabob total landings decreased in 2017, 18, and 19. However, the CPUE, when compared to previous years, had trended upwards. Since the MSC certification, there has not been much work done in terms of implementing new management strategies for the Seabob fishery, and it's something that Guyana is currently looking at, and we aim to improve. So in terms of future work, we have already started the process of analyzing data, spatial and temporal data for the years of 2019, with the aim of doing it up to 2025. And then, of course, expanding the analysis to other subsectors in the fisheries, such as the artisanal and the semi-industrial, for which we have already partnered with one agency to procure the monitoring devices. The overall aim is that we can establish proper fishing grounds and not just limitations such as the 8 to 18 fathom, which are traditionally used by navigational vessels, and try to tie the stock in particularly to different areas of importance, areas of high catch. Yeah, so for me, that is all. I'm not sure if there are any questions.
Okay, I see no hands raised, so I will pose a question. Mr. Mikhail, you mentioned the harvest control rule. What is your process for changing that? How much buy-in is there by the industry?
Yeah, so thank you for the question, Lester. In terms of buy-in from the industry, Guyana has really had a really good working relationship with the Guyana Association of Trawler Owners and Seafood Processors. Internally, what we found is that prior to the adjustment in the harvest control rule, most vessels, they would not use up the total allowed days. And when you do the calculation in terms of the days that are allotted, it would give a result in terms of the catch per effort unit that you may consider to be not very accurate. So in 2019, there was an adjustment to make it more reactive, where there are monthly reviews of the standardized days utilized by each vessel, and those days are not allowed to be carried over to the new month or transferred to another vessel. So, so far it's been working quite well, and the industry has been receptive of it. The idea here is that given the value of that sector and the contribution to Guyana, everyone is working as hard as they can in order to ensure that it remains successful.
Yes, thank you very much. Buy-in and teamwork is certainly very much needed. I see Mr. Kong has his hand raised. We have time for one final question. Please go ahead, Mr.
Thank you so much. Just a sort of unrelated thing. Did MSC certification make any difference in the market value of the product?
Well, the actual value for the MSC certification in terms of additional benefits to the company, yes. We now have some of the individual vessel owners who are able to access the market. They can do so directly. Prior, they would have had to go through a company that had the markets open to them. So in terms of that, there was a value. Overall, however, the MSC certification really came in as a requirement for entry into many markets. And that does not necessarily dictate a change in price, just that if you did not have the MSC certification, then your potential market share would be replaced or removed. So I guess to answer your question, it's a bit of yes for the small guys and a bit of no for the large companies.
Thank you very much for the question and the thorough and well understood explanation.